Hello and welcome to another episode of the Quantum Creating Podcast, bringing the world of the formless into form with me, Paul Webb, the Quantum Mentor. And today I am super excited. You can probably tell how excited I am because I am joined by the lovely Yasmin Ibrahim, who is going to enthrall you, wow you, and give you nuggets of value that are going to be way beyond what you think. So no pressure whatsoever, Yasmin. How are you? Thank you very much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. My gosh, what an introduction. I am so happy to be on your first podcast. Well, after your introduction podcast. So yeah, really looking forward to this. So thank you for inviting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And I'm going to throw you straight into the deep end here because this is how I roll sometimes. And I want to ask you, do you have a favourite quote for me?
I do indeed. So it was between two. There's several I could put, but this one's really jumped out at me today. And the quote is, "It's our imagination that's responsible for love, not the other person." And it's by a chap called Marcel Proust. I think I've said that right. It comes from an excerpt of the book by Esther Perel about relationships. Wow. So, but the reason it's important is it's all about not looking outside of ourselves, but coming in with everything. So that's why, not just with love, but with everything. So I would apply that to absolutely everything in life.
Wow, that's fabulous. And thank you so much. And slightly left field from what I expected. It's always great, yeah. Because I'm trying to sit here thinking, okay, what are we going to come out with? But that's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's not one of the ones that are out there. It's not like a real popular one. So I wanted something that kind of reflects what I'm about. And it's all about the internal, not so much about the external.
Fabulous. And you very kindly provided me with some information before we kicked off with today, and it's fair to say you were very thorough and very you in your answers.
I like that. It's taken me a long time to grow into me and be me. So
that's what I want to talk about first of all, because you in your, so I asked you, as I ask all my guests, to provide a brief bio, right? And you make it quite clear that there were certain times in your life where you certainly weren't yourself. So could you kind of talk us through that and how that affected you back then and how you kind of grew from that to where you are today?
Okay, so I'm a child of abuse in the household. So that was emotional, physical, mental, sexual. What happens when you're a child of abuse is you detach from yourself. So you don't know who you are as your identity because it's taken from you from a very young age. Now, if I told you it started at my earliest memory, and I thought it was at 3.5, but when I was revisiting this, I actually got 2. And it was a trigger that came out of something very innocent. So I keep getting shown different memories about this. Anyway, so what happens is you become very detached from yourself because you don't understand who you are because you're serving other people. Because at that young age, to you, anything that someone does to you is love. And so I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my preferences were. I didn't know what was right. I didn't know what was wrong. I just went with the flow. And that was my life for a very long time. I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. On the surface, that looked very normal. An Indian family, parents, arranged marriage. They saw themselves for the first time on the day they got married in the physical flesh. So that in itself is incredible. They'd seen a picture of each other and it was like, yes, that one will do. It was literally like that. They knew nothing about each other really. Imagine being thrown together with someone you know nothing about, and then you've got to live out a life and learn to love them, you know. So there was a lot of dysfunction growing up, and very traditional in Indian families. There's abuse, there's affairs, there's all sorts of things like this. And that went on a lot in my household. Well, I say a lot. The abuse was, there was one affair that went on with my father that was shaped my future relationships. So I went through life not really knowing who I was, doing the thing of trying to please everybody because that's what I'd done from 2 years old, thinking that was the right thing to do. And trying to fit in with other people. So when you don't know who you are, you try to be another person. You try to fit into circles, don't you?
Yeah.
So my friendships, I don't have any long-lasting friendships, right. Okay? So some people have gone to uni and they've got friendships that last 20 years. I don't have any of those.
Right.
Because all my friendships were based on lies, because I was trying to be another person always. So growing up, I got married at 23. I tried to fit into that lifestyle.
Right.
Which really wasn't my lifestyle. Okay, so I tried to be, again, something I wasn't, to fall into a religion I wasn't. I changed my name, hence Yasmin. It's not my birth name. So I tried to be something else, which didn't sit right with me after a while. So I left that relationship, got a beautiful daughter from it, and then moved on and met someone else a few years later. And then I tried to fit into his life. You know, he was into rugby, very loud, big drinker, very extrovert. So I tried to, again, fit into another circle. And I've done this all my life. And it wasn't until 2012 when I got cancer that it makes you reflect on your life and think, well, who am I? What have I been doing? You know, when someone tells you, when a doctor tells you you've got cancer, the first thing you ask is, am I going to die? How long have I got? Is it serious? You know, these things run through your head. And then you start questioning life's decisions, don't you?
Yeah.
Which I did. And I realised that I was trying to be everything for everybody whilst not really knowing what my preferences were, where my boundaries were, what I truly liked and disliked, what felt in alignment to me. That's where it all started. Okay. And then the spiritual side opened up. And the more spiritual I got, the more in alignment I got, the more in my truth I got, and the more I cared less about what other people thought of me, and the more attractive as a person I became. So never mind the facade, inside, you know, I would speak my truth and not care what anyone said. Not that I did it to... I didn't do it in a way to offend anybody. I just would really express myself and where I was coming from. And if it was different from everyone else, that was cool. I'm allowed to do that. And quite often it was different from everyone else, which led to losing friends and gaining a whole new circle, which is incredibly supportive. It's like the best circle of friends I've had ever.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much the story.
Yeah, no, it's a fabulous story, and thank you for your honesty and candor in sharing it and your vulnerability. And I can only imagine what impact that has on your clients when you're able to share a story like that with them, because I have this ongoing conversation with clients that the majority of people that I see in my daily life, whether they be clients, whether they be just people I talk to, they're living lives of quiet despair. They're not being true to themselves. They're not living the life that they feel they should live. And some of the times I'm convinced they don't know what life they should be living, that they're so conditioned into this mask or these masks that they're wearing to fit in, to please others, that they don't really know where they fit in. When you were diagnosed with cancer and you started to look at yourself and your life and where you fitted in, what was your feelings around that time? What was your realizations about that?
One of the biggest realizations is that I didn't have to fit in, that I can create life on my own terms. And that was a whole new concept to me, because people told me to do things, there were rules, I had expectations put on me from other people, and I followed them. And I actually sat down when I had cancer and thought, none of these feel good for me. Like, I don't feel happy doing any of this. So how about I just create a life that I'm happy with?
Right.
And for a while, when you strip off what you're doing for everyone else, it's a really vulnerable place, and it's scary, and you're alone and you lose friends. But when you lose these things that don't make you happy, you create room for everything that does. So it was like a magnet to all the good things, and all the good things that were in alignment to me came in. So it was a really big realization that I didn't have to live life on anyone else's terms, and I could live it on my own terms and have it in the way that I wanted. And the words you just used, where you said, we're conditioned. We absolutely are conditioned. And often when I sit with clients and I say, well, who told you that you had to do it that way? Why can't you do it your own way? They're like, well, I didn't know I could. And that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't know I had a choice to live differently. And everyone absolutely has.
Yeah, it's that word, isn't it? Choice. That life happens, it unfolds. It's the natural unfolding of the universe, you know, it interacting and experiencing itself, right? I speak about it in quantum terms, you speak about it in energy terms, but really we're speaking about it in the same way. It's the same conversation. Maybe the words are slightly different. But as this life unfolds in front of us, we choose how we interpret it and how we move towards and through it. And a lot of the time we defer making a choice, but that in itself is a choice. So we don't have these moments of clarity. And I think having this awareness is sort of like the foundation for change. So what was your aha moment, if you had one? What was your moment of clarity when you said, this has to change and it has to change now?
When I got cancer, and I'm a full believer in that diseases are created from suppressed emotions, okay? Right. And when I started releasing the emotions that were shown to me through what I thought I got, how I got cancer, the cancer started to heal by itself very, very quickly. Right. So one tumour appeared, one reduced in size by 50%, and it only came in line with when I started doing the emotional work, okay? I did change the diet. I went into a keto diet, which also helped, but I found the emotional release was far greater. So my aha moment was really when I got cancer to realise that I can affect change within myself and in others. And again, I had a choice to do it. So I could either listen to what the medical experts said, or I could take control and do something about it. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, we think we're powerless more than anything, but we're not. We have so much power. We just don't recognise how much we've got.
That's, I'm glad you said that, because that's really, really profound, because we are the only species, I think, to my knowledge, that give their power away. I talk all the time about a bee just being a bee and the best bee it can be. It knows nothing else, right? It doesn't try and be a butterfly or anything like that.
Yeah.
An oak tree will become the grandest version of an oak tree that where it is determines, right? So if it can take up all the nutrients, it can grow as high as it can grow. And yet we are so bad at saying, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is my power. And I think that people just really, as we said earlier, are conditioned not to believe that this is so.
Yeah. So you've heard the expression that a flower has one job, to bloom. It's not worried about the flower next to it or if it blooms brighter or less. Its job is just to bloom.
Yeah.
And that is my favourite thing. It's about you. And it goes back to the quote where we started. It's about you and your internal being and what you've got to show. Nothing external, no one next to you, no comparison. It's about you.
Yeah.
And it's when we look outward that we forget about us.
Absolutely. So and we're in such a this kind of paradox of pleasing everyone else and judging ourselves by what others have and how many likes on Instagram we get, or whether we got the nice car or things like that. And really, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant in our humanness and our growth potential. That's irrelevant. We don't own these things, even if we've got them. So
I love what you've said there, because after I had cancer, there was a horrendous. My second marriage was very tumultuous, and some awful things happened, which I won't go into because it's a whole other thing. But I ended up losing my home through no fault of my own. And in my home, I lost possessions like 20 years of books, which I absolutely loved, loads of possessions. And I lost everything. I had nothing. I walked out with a case, probably a couple of cases of clothes and some bits with that belonged to myself and my daughter. Anyway, that was the moment I realised that I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
I was stripped of everything. As I said, I was emotionally and physically, mentally bankrupt. I had nothing, financially bankrupt.
Did you in that instance, so you had all these possessions, and it sounds like you were identifying yourself with them. So your identity was wrapped up in these possessions. Yeah. So once they go, your identity's gone. So it leaves you stripped, as you say, like naked with nothing. So how did you bounce back from that?
Oh, well, if you can imagine, I used to drive a Porsche Carrera convertible turbo sport, my dream car since I was 14. It didn't feel like I was worthy of it. I drove it not feeling worthy. I used to go spend nothing, think nothing of spending £5,000 on handbags and clothes. Like, I wouldn't blink.
Right.
Okay. But I had no satisfaction in those. Yes, I had the latest bag and shoes. I had no satisfaction. Then I had nothing, right? So this is really interesting. So I lost my home, I think it was in the May of 2014. I had to have major surgery in the August of 2014. And I remember my surgeon saying to me, we cannot operate until you're in a permanent home that I know that you can recover with. So get yourself into a home. At this point, I've got no money, no possessions, thinking, holy cow, how am I going to do this, right? So the focus was into that. So I was working part-time, didn't earn enough money to rent a flat. So I thought, okay, this is where my manifestations are going to have to get really clear. So I found a location I wanted to live in. I knew the budget that I wanted to spend on an apartment, okay? I did not know how I was going to get that money.
Right.
I didn't know how any of that was going to come.
Okay.
I literally only had a couple of £100 in my bank account.
Right.
This was not doable, right?
Okay.
So I put the out and then started looking for apartments that I couldn't afford, but they're still within the budget, right? So all the time affirming, having trust and faith that some higher power was going to pull this together for me, right? Now, I didn't know that my parents were going to step in and help. They gave me the money, right? They basically, the first thing was come and live with us. And I didn't want to live there. The hospital was in Tooting. I live not far from Tooting. It made sense to be close to the hospital rather than go across London and live with them. And in an environment that I didn't feel settled. I've never really felt settled at home.
Right.
Anyway, so they, out of the blue, just called me up and said, we're going to give you the money. This will tie you down for 3 months to give you recovery time to get well. The spot that I manifested the place in totally just turned up. And it was a private rent, and the landlord said, we've not shown this to anyone else because we really want you to take this. We want you. They pestered me for it. So in the end, I got the place. I moved in with no furniture. My daughter slept on the floor. She was so eager just to move in. She was like, I don't care. I'm going to sleep on the floor until we get out. We somehow manifested furniture, which was incredible. And I had somewhere to recover. Okay.
And what's important is a great environment, right, to be in.
Oh, it's lovely. It's by the river. It's quiet. It's family orientated. It's safe. It's everything that my subconscious wanted for me, and the universe delivered.
Right.
Okay. So that was a massive turning point of having nothing and then being grateful for everything showing up. And I remember opening the cupboard, and this is really silly. When you've got a fully stocked kitchen, you take it for granted. When I opened my cupboard, and I was like, oh, I've got 3 spices in there. And I can remember the gratitude for having 3 spice jars in there. This is so silly. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got spices. It's so small, but it was so precious to me.
And so powerful as well, right?
Yeah, and you can only understand that if you have nothing.
No, of course.
I literally had nothing. And I was just so excited. And I was like, look, we've got like 3 pots and pans. And I was so excited. I can't tell you. And I cried when I received things because the value of having all these expensive, amazing things was put into perspective about how much I actually needed in life, which is actually not a lot.
No, and you know, a takeaway there is, well, there's loads of takeaways, and I'll love to talk about a couple of them, but the one you said at the end, that you became so grateful for what you got. So when you were able to manifest or be given or buy pots and pans and plates and knives and forks and more spices and whatever, that you have this attitude of gratitude, that you're so abundantly grateful. That opens up the channels for more to come in. Oh,
so much.
Which is so important, don't you think?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I talk about gratitude quite a lot. And I say to people, you know, when they say think of 3 things you're grateful for daily, I'm a bit against that. And I'll tell you why. I don't want you to think of 3 things you're grateful for. I want you to feel one thing that you're grateful for, okay? Because if you're thinking, you're going outside of yourself. I want you to feel gratitude for something you've got in that moment. That's far more powerful, because guaranteed, if you list 3 things you're grateful for, you're going to be mechanical about it.
Yeah.
You're not feeling it, because when you feel it, the gratitude is even bigger. The feeling, the emotion sends ripple effects out into the universe.
Absolutely.
It's far greater.
Absolutely. No, I agree totally. And, I take you back to when you started that wonderful story about you didn't know how it was going to happen. And I think that we get so caught up, especially at the beginning, in how things are going to happen. And fundamentally, for me, that's not our role. Our role is to decide what we want to happen and then get out of the way.
Yes, yes.
And from that place of getting out of the way, you see opportunities. You are open to everything, and you just remain in that place. And it's really, really difficult because we're conditioned not to.
Yeah.
But if we can stay there, and if we can have that awe and that wonder and that graciousness and that knowing, or even if we don't know, that suspension of disbelief that, the universe has got our back. It creates. Look what it does. We're small, but that power is inside of us.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, I did a webinar at the beginning of the year, just before January the 1st, and this was really, really interesting. So it was how to achieve your goals, right? So everyone's got goals about how much they want to earn, what if they want to move, possessions again, right?
Yeah.
So we're very possession orientated.
Right.
So at the beginning of the 90 minutes, I said to everybody, whatever you think your goals are will be totally transformed by the end of 90 minutes, okay? Every single one changed. Everyone's changed. And I had 20 people on this webinar. And basically what I did is I connected them to their intuition, and the goal or the thing that they wanted, truly that was in line with them, was very different to what they thought they wanted. It was all to do with a purpose. It was all to do with their greater good and affecting others. Okay, so everything just changed, and they would see things a year down the line, because I basically said, now I want you to connect to yourself, and we did a whole process where they connected themselves and they asked, where am I at the end of the year in December? And the images were so big. They were on beaches, they were in ski resorts, on things they weren't on their agenda, right? And they all sat there and said, how is this going to happen? And this was the best bit, because you let go of the how. You absolutely do. But the wonderful thing about your intuition, it already knows what's planned for you. So we worked backwards and I showed them the how. Okay, but still they were in disbelief. And that's where you've got to relinquish and not be in control, and throw out a bit of magic. Like when you were a kid and you daydream and you were a superhero and you were, fighting evil or whatever it is, or you were an astronaut. It's that sense of imagination or dreaming that I invited them to flirt with, just to allow them, because we're far too controlling about stuff. We're like, I've got to do this step, then step 2, then step 3. Life isn't like that. Life isn't a straight. It will take you on so many turns and twists, I
love that phrase, flirt with. That brings up so many wonderful imaginative processes that you can play. Because I use the term play. I want you to play with this. This is a game. Remember when you were you played at being the astronaut, when you played, and I've got younger children. My youngest kids are 12 and 10. They're getting a little bit older, but we still play, and they've got great imaginations. And one moment they're astronauts, the next moment they're dancers, the next moment they're cowboys. And this play connects you with your true nature, which is playful for me. That's the whole point. That's why we've got these, higher sensory faculties of imagination and intuition and wit and creativity, but we can play with it. And I know a lot of companies now have, whiteboards and playrooms, and they encourage their creative staff to play at games, and they have Lego and all sorts of things like that, because that play, that flirting, as you so eloquently put it, is so very important in the creative process.
Yeah. This is really interesting. Have you ever heard the expression, it's a game of life?
Yeah.
Life is a game, right? That's exactly what it is. It's a game, and it's how you play it, and it's important that you do it with fun. And the reason I say flirt with it is that when you're having a flirt with someone, it's funny and you giggle, and it instinctively makes you feel a little bit good inside, And I love the word play, but I think a lot of adults have forgotten how to do it.
Definitely.
So unless you've got kids, you get really, really detached from the play aspect. And when they grow up, it all becomes a little bit too serious. And that's why I think the older generation love to get in touch with their grandkids, because it makes them feel young. The sense of play, and life opens up again. It's a new lease of life. So it's it's an evolution through our human species of kind of forgetting about play and then reconnecting with it all the time. But
it's kind of sad, isn't it, that growing up seems to be the losing of playing.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's such a shame.
My kids are still young enough to go to the park, and I'll roll down the hill with them, and I'll climb the climbing frames with them, and I'll do all that wonderful stuff and go up trees and all that. And I see parents leaving their kids to play and sitting engaged on their phone, and for me that's so sad.
Yeah. So my daughter's 21, but we still play. We will still have a laugh about things, and I'll poke fun at her continuously. And she just looks at me as if mum's gone a bit mental. But I never want to lose the humour in life.
No.
So we're constantly like poking fun, especially when she's got her boyfriend or friends around. I'll poke more fun, and part of her is highly embarrassed and part of her thinks it's hilarious. So, and that still works for me. I don't ever want to lose that. As I said to her, I will age disgracefully, so just be prepared.
Absolutely. And that's age disgracefully is a great phrase as well.
It is, yeah.
How do you then, all your life's experiences, especially since, the cancer and your awakening, if I can call it that, and your desire to age disgracefully and be unapologetically you, for which we're really grateful for. How do you tailor that into your work? How does your work look at the moment with all of that on board? Okay,
so I am very true to myself. I try not to edit anywhere. I'm brutally honest. I swear, I break rules, I say things I'm not supposed to, as per what the greater collective might think. But I'm only saying everything that people are thinking.
Right.
And I don't want it to be in their heads. I want it to be acceptable to talk about taboo or the things they shouldn't really be thinking. For instance, I have conversations with people and I'm like, oh, what's really going on? You're jealous about the fact that you haven't got what you want and someone else has, and you're feeling these emotions and you want to be nasty about it because your emotions are attacking yourself for not showing up for yourself. Let's be truthful. Let's get raw. Let's talk about what's really going on.
Right.
It's the question you ask someone when you say, how are you? And they go, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. And then you stop and you say, now tell me how you really are. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
So my truth is so important to me. It's really important that I speak from, it's not about showing people up. It's not about calling people out. Although I would say call yourself out. If you're going to call anyone out, call yourself out about your truth. Where are you not being truthful? Okay. Everyone talks about being authentic and being real. When you're living it because you don't care what you're saying. And I don't mean you're being nasty or rude. It's like you're just saying it. Like what other people think of me is absolutely none of my business. I don't care, right? Because I'm in alignment with me.
Absolutely.
And I will make mistakes and I will say the wrong things, and I'll get people that come back to me and I'll be like, oh, maybe I should tailor that a little bit so it's more acceptable to people. At the moment, I got called out for swearing. It's like, if you're spiritual, how can you be swearing? And my retort to that was, why don't you look at the attachment you have to swear words rather than, is it spiritual to swear or not? Because half of our English language is a derivative of a derogatory word.
Yeah, and I agree implicitly. And, it's timing is everything, because I've just come back from Amsterdam for the first time. And I found it a most incredible place. It's on the surface really chaotic, but obviously in that chaos there is order because it all works. And you have the old Amsterdam, which is very, very beautiful. The architecture is lovely, the museums and the history is incredible. And then you have the new Amsterdam. So we say the more hedonistic type of Amsterdam, with the red light district and the decriminalisation of cannabis and so on and so forth. So you have all this going on and it triggers you. So you walk down the red light district, and if the dog is barking, I apologise, but there are people outside. You have all these people in this red light district. And you have women in windows, in booths, surrounded by red neon, showing themselves in various states of undress, but seemingly in control. So they may very well be empowered. They may not. I don't know their stories. You have the guys and the girls walking past, having a look and seeing what's going on. You have the guys there that are there for, to use the prostitutes and act accordingly. But there is a kind of control around it. But I did find it triggering. I found it triggering that everyone was smoking cannabis openly and the smell was in the air. I found it triggering that these women are clearly advertising for sex. Not that I have anything against women advertising for sex, but it's so in your face. And we have to look at these. So I'm really pleased I went, because I can sit back now and say, okay, what do I really think about this? Why did this trigger me? Why did I think there was something else going on? What is going on? So I think to be faced with these things, this darkness, is a really, really good thing for us, for our evolution and our spiritual growth.
Yeah. What was triggering you, out of interest? It was whether, for me, it was whether the girls are doing what they want to, whether they're empowering themselves, whether they're showing up as their true, authentic, aligned selves. Because what it seems to me is that in this instance, in every city you go in, there's this undercurrent of this type of thing: drugs, prostitution, gambling, whatever, right? But in Amsterdam, what they've done is they said, okay, we accept that this goes on everywhere, but rather than hide it, boom, there you go. And because it's there, because it's out there, we're gonna control it. We're gonna make sure the girls are healthy. We're gonna make sure they pay tax. We're gonna make sure they're safe. We're gonna decriminalize the drugs, so you can smoke drugs if you want. You go and buy your drugs at this store. You can only buy a certain amount. They can only carry a certain amount. That's the situation. We're not gonna hide it. And we're going to bring in income, and we're going to control it as best we can, and we're going to see how that works. Right? So I get that. Right? I understand that, and I applaud them for that. But I was sitting down watching these women thinking, are you living your truly aligned self? But by the same token, who is? Yeah.
So this was the conversation I was having, you see.
Yeah. So this is really interesting for me. Sometimes our life purpose may not be one of service in a power we're not giving up our bodies, okay? Their life purpose might be to nurture men or give men love, attention for that space of time that they pay for, to give them something of themselves that they may not be experienced anywhere else. So, the human self might say, oh, this is what I shouldn't really be doing this, but the soul continues to push you in doing it. That might be their life purpose, to do that. So when I've gone back into my past lives, I've been a prostitute many times, and some of it wasn't very nice, and some of it I can see why I was. There was a transactional thing, there was empowerment. There was also the fact that I know that there is a lot of men that are detached from their feminine side or haven't been brought up by mums that are emotionally available. So then they look for women or equals that can give them that. And if they pay for it, and if they're still getting what they need, and both sides are consensual, I would look at it differently. But I can see why you were triggered. But I like the fact that you were triggered as well, because that's made you look at why, hasn't it?
And I'm like yourself, I'm completely honest, right? And I would not go there and say, it was fine, loved it, it was great, had a good walk around, perfect. And also I will admit to going there actually thinking, I'm not sure quite what I think about this. I need to have a look at this. Which again, I think
I've not been, I'd love to go. And I think I would probably get triggered the same way, actually.
It's an interesting experience, and I'm glad I've done it, because I've had to look at certain areas that I would never have looked at anywhere else. And it was being there that enabled me to sit down and say, okay, let me journal on this. Let me think about it.
I mean, the other thing I would say, listening to you talking about the beautiful side of Amsterdam and then this new wave, is also a reflection of what our personalities are, because we have a dark side that we have to find acceptable. And then we have other sides of us, which is reflected around us in your environment. And to me, that is like, if you can coexist and make friends with your dark side as well as the beautiful side, you're gonna do really well. It's making friends with all of your personalities. And I joke often, as a Gemini, I've got 23 personalities, and I wake up and I don't know which one I am. But bring it on, whatever it is, I'll wear that coat for the day.
Toss of the coin and let's go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who am I today? So, and sometimes I don't even know who I am, but that's cool. I'll just accept whatever it is for the day.
Yeah, and I think and again, that goes back to that whole thing about it's just a game, right? It's just a game. That things to
You
turn up.
choose what you are. You went exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Fabulous. So, what's next for you, Yasmin? What's following up from this?
So this is interesting because at the moment, energetically, there's a lot going on that's creating. So there's a lot of old patterns that have been pushed out for me to finally remove. Now, my biggest thing at the moment is there's quite a few areas that I'm very good at, and it's just honing in the message, because if you're open and you're open to opportunities and you've had a varied life, there'll be lots of things. Everyone's good at more than one thing. Yeah. And at the moment, it's just refining what that one or two things are. So what's next for me is to refine that and really forge ahead with it. Because I do mediumship, I do energy reading, I do healing, I do physical work, stretch therapy. And there's a lot in that. I look after the whole body. I look after the whole person. So, and that can be quite a lot.
Yeah. So and does that mean that you have to take particular care in looking after yourself as well, because you give so much of yourself physically and energetically to clients?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm in menopause at the moment, and it's my biggest thing that's made me look at how I treat myself, because along come these hormones and mess up your body, make you get really premenstrual like all the time. Right. I'm just not a very nice person sometimes, and I let go of my diet. I wasn't working out. I'm forgetful, all the things that you don't want to happen, which is brilliant because it all showed itself. And I was like, oh, I don't like this, what's going on. I present myself on camera as one person, and meanwhile I'm doing all of this, but I've shared the experience of it. And it was a great lesson to take control of my health. So I'm in a program at the moment to get very fit, and I'm doing really well, getting fit and strong. My nutrition's changed. I'm scheduling everything in my diary. I've got time for myself. I've just really taken control of it. So I thank menopause for showing me the chaos I was in, and to refine my day. And I've been in and out of it for years, I should, how we form a really good habit and then we lose it. Yeah. But more so now, to keep the energy reserves up, I have to ensure that happens. It works for me, and I've got to stick with it.
It's interesting you mentioned habits, because I'm a big believer, as you may know, in deliberate practice. So I talk extensively about this. If you want to attain certain levels of success in any areas of your life, there is a process you go through from raw beginner to master, and that gap is closed by daily deliberate practice, focused intention, and practicing, with clear mind, free from distractions every single day. So what habits do you use to keep you on track and keep you moving towards that end goal of success that you see for yourself?
Okay, first one, boundaries, really good boundaries. Exercising the word no a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we're not very good at, right? We're not very good at that at all.
We're rubbish at. I was a people pleaser. I'm like, I'll do that for you. And then all of a sudden I'm like, no one's really doing it for me. And it's because I was doing it for everybody and the wrong people and not getting my return. And it's not just about doing something to get a return, but there's an energetic transaction that goes on, and just putting your energy in the right spaces. So I've turned down a lot of things, podcasts, meetings, opportunities, loads of things, because I check in with myself. Does it feel in alignment? No, I'm not doing it. Thank you very much for the opportunity, but there might be another time. So exercising the word no is a really good habit, right? Secondly is having a routine. So a morning routine. If the whole day goes tits up, as long as I've got a morning routine, that helps. So my morning routine is to get up, move, meditation, gratitude, self-love. So even if that's 5 or 10 minutes, it has to happen. Yeah. So that once that happens, anything else that happens is fine. I can deal with it because I've prepped myself for the day. So those are probably the two things. The other habit as well is something that we're very good at, and that is try not to lie to yourself. We're very good at that. We play down ourselves, and you said the expression, you have to get out of your own way, and that you have to get out of your own way with lies and everything, you know. Show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And is that a habit? Yeah, it is. Stop lying to yourself about, oh yeah, I did that, when you only did half of that. Be true to yourself.
Yeah, I had a conversation about that the other day, actually, and how difficult it is to be truly honest with yourself.
Oh my gosh. So I sit with clients and I'll say, I'm hearing that you're not doing this. Yeah, I do it. And then when we have a conversation for 10 minutes, they're actually only doing it 20%, but they believe they're still doing it. And I'm like, well, come on, let's call you out on this, because you're going to come and work with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to give it to you how it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I get.
What's a good resource you use that helps you?
I prefer resources that are within us. So eyes and ears are my best resources. So if I would look beyond what my eyes see, and I would listen beyond what my ears hear.
Wow.
So I would always hear more or see more than that's being presented to me. So that's my best resource, because we've forgotten how to listen, how to communicate, and how to view beyond the obvious.
That would mean then we have to make strides to become very present and mindful.
Exactly.
And obviously most people are distracted in so many ways.
Exactly. And that's why when you asked me about an app, I would come back to self before I go to an app.
Wow.
Because if I've got everything, I probably don't need an app.
No.
I probably don't need... so this is really interesting. One of the things you said is, can you suggest an app, i.e. something similar to Evernote? So I don't use Evernote, or I don't write much down, because I believe if I've seen it, heard it, listened to it, I can store it somewhere in my subconscious and call it back. Okay? That's how much my faith is. And I'm very forgetful. So, but it does come back.
Right.
So I don't believe I have to write everything down. And it's interesting that when I started out on this journey, I keep a Bible of all the things that were reference points to me. And I hardly ever pick it up now, because I know I've got it. I can access it, because I believe I can.
Yeah, I know you well enough to know you're a big pen and paper fan as well. You like writing things down rather than anything else, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're sat on a laptop or a computer and you're typing away, the level of distraction is much more. Okay, I just don't feel you're engaged. Plus there's the electricity that goes in, the energy transference that you're soaking up. I would rather sit with a pen and paper, because I feel that when you free flow, when you're in a state of writing creatively or mind dumping or putting down your issues or anything, in free flow state, and as you're writing, you're physically letting go of things, as well as creating your own healing. So have you ever written something when something's really annoying you, and you literally write down all your feelings, and then all of a sudden the answer jumps out at you? Neurologically, it feels like I'm letting go. Yeah. So the more I love technology, and I love the ease of it, but, you know, God made us perfect already. Okay, these are just enhancements that we've got. So why don't we just use what we've got? And handwriting is beautiful. Yeah. You know, the beautiful handwriting. People's handwriting is really scruffy right now. So I just like the whole pen and paper thing. I just feel like it affirms things much more for me. It's not being put onto a laptop and going into the ether. It's there in physical form and in a book. It's like often I listen to audiobooks, but I like reading a book.
Yeah, me too.
My hands, the tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. And my clients will tell you that I'm big on pen and paper, because they all journal, even those that don't want to. And they get so much out of it. Once they give themselves to it, they actually find it very healing and very inspiring. And as you say, the answers are there in front of them.
Yeah.
We're kind of coming to the end of our time together. And I want to thank you for sharing yourself so freely.
Pleasure.
I just want to know... do you have a favourite book you'd recommend?
Yes. So Russell's brand book, Recovery, I love. And I love it because it's based around the 12 steps. So the AA fellowships, also for codependency, sex and love addicts, all of that sort of thing. And the reason I love it is because it gives you pillars to work towards. Okay. Now I've been in 12-step fellowship, so you're either in or out. You either like them or not. If you take the principles of it, which is the first step is to understand that we are powerless. Okay, as if we can't control everything. okay? When you give up the thing of I can control everything, you then recognize your own power, or a power higher than yourself, right?
Perfect.
Love that. Yeah. Love. And the thing about the steps is it requires you to take an inventory of yourself. So anywhere you've been lying to yourself, anywhere that you've not been cool with someone, anywhere that you've acted wrong, it makes you makes you be accountable for that and take ownership for it. And the whole process is a journey, and then at the end, there's an amends as well. And how you go back to that person and make amends for your behaviour, and you apologise for the action or the person that you are now no longer. So for me, it's more of an accountability statement, and that's why I love it. And the reason I love Russell Brand is I admire his honesty. He doesn't hide anything either. It just all comes out with no filter, and I love it. And that's why so many people are drawn, I think, because he says the things that people are thinking but don't say. And I hope that's what, I do too.
Well, I think so. I think people, clients, those that know you, those that come across you on social media are very fortunate too. I think you have a wonderful soul, a great way of teaching, a great way of connecting with people. And I'm so thrilled that you've come on and connected with the people that will watch and listen to this podcast. But where can people find out more about you, Yasmin?
Okay, so you can get me on Instagram at Miss Yasmin Ibrahim. Lots of stories about real life and my daily postings about life in general with quotes and things. My business, you can find me at spiritualrebel.co.uk, spiritual and rebellious. So that was a good name.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, but that will be rebranded into my own name. But at the moment, you can find me there. Facebook, you can find me at Yasmin Ibrahim. That's probably my main platforms at the moment.
Okay, fabulous. And what I'll do is I'll put all those resources in the show notes so people can read that. Well, Yasmin, thank you so much for spending the past 45 minutes with us.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute honour to have you on, the first guest on the podcast as we move forward.
I'm honoured. I'm so honoured.
Thank you so much. And especially knowing that you don't go on many, you choose very selectively the podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm very thrilled that you were able to come on mine, and hopefully we'll be able to speak to you again at a later date and see how you're getting on and what you're up to.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.